Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Tuesday. It's June 4th, 2024. Sunny skies, birds are chirping. Somewhere in the mid-80s in this part of town. And still somehow a pretty sweet breeze on occasion. Hope you're doing well. Let's see what message we have today. Six of Swords. Moving ahead, getting away from some chaotic circumstance with an expectation for more or greater where you're headed. Expanding your mindset to perceive greater possibilities beyond what may have been past experience or what may even be your present experience. I'm expecting a miracle. Yeah, because this is like an expectation beyond limitations, particularly of past experiences or evidence of the past. Tower card. Perhaps that being the conditioning of the past to kind of always be on guard for something to blow up, something to go wrong, maybe because things have, often come to a destructive head, or often things have been dismantled upon great expectations. It's like pretty much like when you have an expectation for something good to happen, you are believing for it with all your mind, body, and spirit, and still there's always a shock to the plans or something to readjust to, or the tower in this sense I feel is like the muscle memory of unfavorable experiences. What's this? Yeah, that you had to feel guarded by. And in some ways you maybe actually did have to protect your energy, but it could also be what has kind of provoked a defensiveness in you, or not quite a paranoia, but definitely to be defensive in some way, shape, or form. Again, always on guard for the other shoe to drop, or things to go wrong, or something not quite to work out the way that you had expected and anticipated with the greatest expectations. But this is the crossover moment though. The Six of Swords is now abandoning that mentality, and also, because this is more wand energy than anything, also the defensive tactics, perhaps even your energetic defenses and your reactions and responses to that experience, to that muscle memory. like bracing for impact all the time. There's something about that that's being left behind to a more peaceful mindset of an expectation for things to go your way, to work out in your favor. Yeah, let's see what else we got on that here. Let me just shuffle. Five of Cups. Depression, despair, moving away from that energy perhaps. Looking forward to sowing into new soil. At a crossroads between regressing back into that depressive mind state to breaking new ground. It's like you can only go one way or the other, and as it is with this boat, you're either going to go back and forfeit everything that you've sown. Wow, this is powerful. To go backwards, mentally or physically, and forfeit everything that you've worked for, everything that you've sown into up until this point that would even get you a seat in this boat to begin with, on your way to paradise, on your way to a potential better, well, it's absolutely an advancement here with the Six of Swords. You're moving into a more favorable experience and away from something more restrictive. And there's a crossroad moment here that would perhaps compel you to contemplate what you're leaving behind, given that what you're crossing or pursuing is still a bit unknown, and you have all the muscle memory again for what you can expect and even brace yourself for, have control over even to some degree from past experience. But the reality is that the future is uncharted territory, and there's no way to know what lies ahead. And some of what you've harvested, and even what you have, some of what you've sown is not to be harvested in or on that new land. It might be possible that you may have to leave some crops behind that you thought, with the Seven of Pentacles, he has the expectation to harvest this whole plant or produce or whatever it actually is, but it seems that he's only able to really get one at this time. This is also an implication of being called to kind of really invest a long-term devotion into this cultivation. But for some, for the invitation that may be set to arise, you may not have that type of time, which is why it's such a crossroads moment, because maybe where you are, you intended to stay a while, or you thought that this was the long-term investment, whether that be a place, people, things, however it presents itself. It could be a job, it could be a business, it could be a relationship, it could be, a way of thinking, it could be a way of making money, or a certain lifestyle that you have put a lot of energy and effort into, and you did so with the intention that it would be an extended investment, and then to perhaps face an invitation, an opportunity that would call you into the deep of some unknown outcome, when you know what you're looking forward to here, regardless of how long it may take, but you also get the sense that what awaits you might be that much more fulfilling. It's like, what do? You literally might have a drop everything and go type of invitation where you don't even have a whole lot of time and energy to, let's say, waste contemplating the possibilities, as much as you have the limited time to say yes. Maybe the boat ain't gonna wait too long. But in this case, it could be a once of a lifetime excursion. And here's a consideration of the past with the Six of Cups. Could be considering a relationship that you've grown quite comfortable in, or a relational dynamic. Could even be family being, somewhat, and it for me is given an inflection of codependency, maybe not necessarily in a bad way, in the in what's the right way to say it, like in a defective way or distorted way per se, but just being accustomed to community support and engagement, or just comfort, even not wanting to leave home for a new adventure or a new discovery elsewhere, which makes a lot of sense with the Seven of Pentacles and the Six of Cups. Like, you have your own little special job on the farm, the family farm, and what happens if you're not there to do what, to do your chores, to do your part? Well, life goes on if you allow it to do so, or you can choose to prioritize your place on the family farm above your ultimate happiness or fulfillment. Because again, I'm saying that because the Six of Swords is always an implication that there's more or greater in store where you're headed. So that means that even with the comfort, sanctity, and support system that one might experience at the highest frequency possible, there's still some inflection of dissatisfaction or a desire for something more than what is being experienced. And that's a nudge that never really goes away. You can diffuse it, you can deflect it, You can suppress it, but it'll always kind of be there as long as it goes unaddressed. Meaning that you could go away and see what's out there, what's in store, and then even decide, that's not for me, and find that home is where you'd rather be, or back where you started is the place for you. You at least would have satisfied that nudge for discovery than to always wonder, what if? But the Six of Cups definitely it could be a familial bond or relationship. It could be an intimate partnership, but it's something that has a bit of an emotional hold. It could have an emotional hold, or just like that you would be quite emotionally attached to, that would naturally be, oh, well, the Devil card, okay. Maybe I'm being a little too nice about this. As I said, maybe not codependency in a bad way. I'm trying to be diplomatic and liberal here, because not everybody feels the need to explore beyond their comfort zone because the comfort zone is a bad thing. So I don't want to be unfair to say that, but in some cases, it may be about leaving a space or place or people or a person to detach from something that is very limited or limiting. And that would be codependency in a diabolical sense, or in a deprecating, is that the word? A deprecating sense, where you can't quite be all that you can be as long as you are still in that place, doing that thing with those folks, recycling the same traumas and toxicities, even though you may find comfort in it and security there, but there's something about it that will never see you to the next level if you don't detach at some point. All right, let's see what else. That was a bit of a, I was a little bit shocked by that. Wasn't expecting that. The Devil card could also represent fear. You know, the fears that sometimes are invoked when we are challenged to try something new or to be something new. But here's the King of Pentacles, which this is the ambition of the devout harvester, you know, not to just do his simple little chores as, you know, a good field hand does, but to ultimately grow into the King of Pentacles, masculine or feminine, but ultimately to be the master of his or her own estate. And it's like the family farm will always be the family farm. And unless you're the executor of that estate, I'm getting the sense that there will always be like this, you'll always just occupy the place that you're in. And someone that has King of Pentacles potential isn't looking to just take up space menially. You would want to be the master of a space that you get to influence and, more or less control or magnify, multiply in your own way. And there's something limited about where you may be, even where you may feel most comforted or comfortable, that will either make it virtually impossible for you to ever do that or make it extremely hard. Like I said, like this is a seven of Pentacles energy is in it for the long haul. What's on the bottom? Exactly. The Star card. There's so much more potential than what you may be holding yourself to or being beholden to, being withheld to. You have more to offer. And there's no shade to the family farm. It's no shade to the job. It's no shade to the folks you grew up with, the friends you had since preschool or high school or whatever. It doesn't say anything negative about the place or space that you're being called away from. It's just destiny awaits. And sometimes you can't stay in one place to answer that call, to really step into that potential fully. There's some destiny alignments, whether it be by the identity that you're evolving into, the achievements that need to be made, accomplishments, goals, even divine appointments, meeting certain folks that will help you evolve along that path, that may or may not ever meet you where you find yourself to be most comfortable and most secure. It may be that you got to kind of get out there into a shaky boat in deep, dark waters, headed to a destination unknown, to find those partnerships and meet those opportunities where they are. And I know that's okay, yeah, we get that, but for whatever reason, it's important for me to say it, because the potential of a King of Pentacles is very great. The power, the influence, the prestige, the security and stability. And it's by divine alignment for someone to sit in that position, to operate in unlimited abundance, so that whatever this point of decision or crossroads moment may be, I would say you're virtually a shoo-in to take the chance of doing the thing that is opposite of what you would do without a thought, or without fear, without contemplation, because it's secure enough that you can, depend on that choice you could literally pick with your eyes closed. I would say it's probably a call for you to do the other thing, to go the other way, to explore the other place, take the other job, or not take the job, I don't know. Yeah, the obscure thing, the mystery, the thing that maybe evokes a little bit of fear or uncertainty or insecurity. That's probably the way. That's probably the gateway, the portal to your miracle. And it's an individual thing, it's a unique experience that, back to that Seven of Wands, I think that did pop up of like kind of like protecting your energy. If you go back to the family on the farm and say that you're going to do this thing, it's probably not going to get rave reviews. In this regard, that's probably a sheer sign that it's more or less, or maybe you have actually taken that course of action of the thing that wasn't well supported. It was like the total opposite of where you were already slated to kind of go. Again, cultivating the family farm, taking over the family business, operating in the family function of livelihood. Everybody does this, everybody teaches, everybody's a doctor, everybody's a businessman, or in some, everybody goes to college and then establishes themselves a certain way, or everybody's in ministry in a certain type of way. Like, you may be stepping out into something that is just completely foreign from what you've been conditioned and or groomed to do. And that is probably the signature to know that you're headed in the right path, on that star path toward destiny. That may not be everybody's calling, but if you can hear it and you can sense it and you recognize it for what it is, even in the inflection of obscurity that it may project from what you're used to and what's expected of you. That's it. Oh, wow, and I said ministry too, the Hierophant. Yeah, and it's like, it could go against convention and tradition and maybe even a certain moral or ethical standard that you were conditioned to adhere to. But somehow it's still the righteous path. It's just your own unique way of expressing it that everybody's not meant to see. Because hell, if not for those that would be willing to stay and work the family farm, maybe there would be no family farm. There would be no landing place. There would be no safe space or foundation of home. And we did have the Tower card, right? So that's even an inflection of foundations, at least for you, where you're concerned, being disrupted, maybe even dismantled, for you to build something more fortifying for yourself and for the legacy that you are called to lead. And the disruption very well could be to convention and tradition, but with good cause though. And again, of course, we saw the devil energy, but it may or may not be on account that there's something diabolical going on there. But whatever it is, it's a disruption to, it's a corruption of your destiny. to exclusively commit to that without exploring this calling for what it is. There's the expectations almost falling off the table. Yeah, and it came out a bit sideways because it may be a struggle to see where the stars truly do align for you. Taking this leap of faith, stepping out into the unknown, stepping out into the mystery or the mysticism of life. But one thing about it is that the Three of Wands can expect a return for their ambition. They're entitled to their expectations. Oh my goodness. Wow. This devil energy is strong. I don't know. Is this the energy of? See, this keeps coming up in terms of what lies in the comfort zone. So maybe this is considering, the difference between waiting for something good to come in this place of comfort versus the set out for discovery. That this is what resides in that comfort zone is more limitation, more fear, and the unknown and the mystique of life doesn't cease to be, but maybe there's a certain type of way that darkness is enveloping when you're in a place that is not enlightening, that's not inspiring. This maybe could be the energy of someone that chose to stay, and this is what it's like they're eternally looking forward to I just heard like a savior or some saving grace to deliver them from this place, or to deliver something of value and of, that's passion evoking to the place where they are. And I don't know, it's like, does it ever come that way? I don't know if it does. I don't know, but this devil energy is like really, what is that? Is that like feeling stuck in a place, but still hoping that something, like, what I'm getting is like an energy of someone that feels like their devotion to a place, even as unfavorable as it may be, somehow will earn them the reward of their sacrifice. But I don't know if that's a fair perspective in this case. Maybe for some and maybe in some cases, but I don't feel like it's like if as with all I said, that if somebody is being called to other places or other experiences outside of where they are to achieve and receive advancement, if you nobly decide, well, the family needs me, or I got a special place here, they can't do it without me, or the job just wouldn't make it without me here every week, or this guy would crumble, if I wasn't here to take care of him. Like, it's giving something about like sacrificial energy or martyrism, yeah. That maybe, just maybe, because you did the noble thing, despite your desires, that would earn you the ultimate reward down the line. This guy is mature. He got hella robes on now, but he's been sewing since the Seven of Pentacles. You know what I mean? It's like, or even to stick around on the family farm till it finally becomes yours or something like that, till it's passed down to you. I don't know, but with this devil energy, I'm getting some type of illusion here or delusion about what about fair expectations, especially when you're not being fair to yourself. Something about that here. Again, we're talking about a crossroads moment. That means that there could be a great deal dependent on the next big decision you're faced to make. So that means, like, with all the best intentions in the world, and the King of Pentacles can be devoted, quite committed, practical, even in his thinking and his action taking. So it could be a matter of doing it for someone else's sake or for the sake of something else. But it could also be, again, just feeling like, no, if I just stay here and do, as I'm told or as I'm expected, then good things will come to me. I just know it. And maybe they will, to some level of satisfaction, or, just satisfaction, I guess, and I use that term mildly. But it may not be the wish fulfillment of the star energy, where there's nothing left to be desired. Not even the experience of just going and seeing. Like, I talked about the prodigal son a couple readings back. And the thing I love about that story, that shout out to Pastor Mike Walrun, First Corinthian Baptist Church in Harlem, that kind of opened my eyes to seeing that story in a different way. It's like we always harp on the prodigal son for going off and squandering his inheritance or whatever. But what we don't really engage is the courage and boldness that it must have taken for him yeah, there was maybe some lack of maturity, or some other things there as well. But the courage and boldness that it took to go out and see, to go and discover himself, discover his limits, or limitlessness, to see just how far the grace of God will really carry you. And still, what he found out in the end is that he had a place back home. He still was welcomed in the sanctity of his safe space when he had nothing left to give or to lose. But the inflection there is with the brother who didn't necessarily exercise that courage, even though it says the father split up both of their inheritances. So he could have gone off and done some exploring too, but he decided to stay home and do his due diligence in the field as a good son would, and work work the crops and so on and so forth, do his chores. So he was really disgusted when the brother returned home, squandering all that he had, but still was open with not just with open arms, but with a celebration. He really had a problem with that because he felt like he should have been rewarded because of his devotion to the estate, to his so-called wisdom to stay. But in the end, it's like, who really has gained here? Because the brother was none the wiser and experienced beyond his comfort zone, but was all the more what do you call it, bitter for his lack of experience, for his, it was almost martyrdom on his part, because he felt like, well, if I stay behind, as the good son should, then, I will reap the rewards and benefits in due time. And what it came down to is that the brother may have squandered what he had, but he still had a place at home, and who knows, he may have been restored at some point in time to his inheritance. We don't know. It doesn't say that in the story, but the point is that he still had a place. Neither was less favored than the other in the end, but the bitter son wanted to be more highly favored because he hadn't taken the same risks that the other son, the prodigal son, had. So, it's something there to be said, especially when I'm talking about the decisions that you're making. It's like, sometimes the lesson is to go and see, to go the distance, to believe that the grace of God, whatever it is, overarching protection you may or may not believe in, follows you and covers you along the way, and that being the exhibition of faith, rather than to coil within your comfort zone and expect for your just desserts to be more than enough, or to be sustainable and satisfying for the rest of your life. It's like, sometimes there's a risk worth taking. And in that case, the prodigal son who left and returned found himself in the spirit of celebration for his return and his homecoming, more than so the other son who thought that they would be revered for not taking the risk, and ended up really, almost excluding themselves from the celebration because they felt like it was undeserving, So it's like, which of the two energies would you really want to be? The one who played it safe and did everything the conventional way and expected way, what was, conditioned of him to do, took no risks, but also didn't really gain much either? Or would you want to be the one, as the prodigal son was, to say, like, you had the courage to discover yourself at every point of limitation or lack thereof, so that no stone is unturned. There's no what ifs, there's no regrets, there's no remorse. And when you move in such a way as that, having like a security, taking with you some type of security to know that worst case scenario, if you fail, you still have a safety net, especially when you're failing trying as opposed to failing safe proof. You know, there's a different level of expectation that one is privy to there. One that seems right, you know, to stay and be safe, and the other that seems like the risk or maybe more of the diabolical choice. But what if it's the opposite, the flip-flop, you know? So yeah, like I never really, like, we don't praise the son that stayed home, but you never really take a look at that character inflection as much as we focus on the prodigal son, because obviously it's called the prodigal son, you know. But there's something to be said about the difference, you know, the dualities of those mentalities. There it is. Meanwhile, back at the ranch. No, but this could also be, you know, the pursuit of home base by your new standards, you know, to go beyond the compound walls and to start a life that is a reflection of who you are independently. This is the executor of the estate here with the Four of Wands. Look at that, 10 of Cups. Yeah, that's the total fulfillment here. And it's interesting to me, like, is this really more so about getting out of your comfort zone? Is that really what this message is? It's got to be something deeper than that. Because we know that I don't know, I feel like it's something about the timing of an impending decision that makes this message so important. That you may be on the precipice of this experience here, which came up yesterday as the first card out, by way of your courage, your courageous decisions. Like, what energy are you discerning from? Comfort or courage? And there is comfort on the other side of your courage, as it is with the Six of Wands, but maybe not a but an and. There is a transition between those two spaces. Yeah, another wish fulfillment card. Emotional satisfaction, feeling highly esteemed. This is being proud of the choices you've made, of your accomplishments. Wow, yeah, to move forward. So this is what, maybe this is what is on the other side of that unknown toward where you're headed once you set out. Strength card. A course of action that will be immensely empowering, because it's like once you get over the hump of anxiety, you know, or fear of the unknown and just kind of get out there, even if, you know, the journey, like consider even with the prodigal son, it's like he may not have made out the best in all of his ambitions, but he certainly came back with a new frequency of courage for his potential beyond his comfort zone, like gaining a wealth of experience and knowledge, perhaps, that was even more valuable in his so-called failure than if he hadn't gone at all. And then maybe the next time he went out a bit more wise and mature and ready to face the world, he would do it in a different boldness and in a different, with an elevated self-esteem here, hopefully, in the best case scenario, with the combination of experience, knowledge, wisdom, maturity. You know, if we were to write an extension of that story, at some point he would have left the nest. And even if he didn't, you'd have to imagine that still your experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, are enlightening and empowering to some degree if you allow them to be. You know a little bit more after the fact, even of the worst possible frequency of a tower moment, than you do before. When everything's fine, everything's good, there's, you know, nothing to consider, it's like day to day, same thing, nothing new. You know exactly what you're going to wake up and do, and how you're going to do it, and when you're going to stop, and what you're going to eat, and who you're going to be with. And, you know, like you kind of have, I don't know, something about being open to the variety of life now. Being excited by it as well, and finding comfort and stability in that unpredictability to some degree. Empress, damn. Talk about empowered shit. An upgrade. Yeah, like what you've learned, what you've learned even about yourself is extremely empowering. Strong creativity here with the strength card, bold creativity. It seems to me like just yet another upgrade or promotion from master of your affairs and your estate to governess or governor of multiple kingdoms. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger every time perhaps you take a step out in faith and in confidence of how much more you have the potential to expand beyond. Because, like, you could go to your so-called promised land and find yourself complacent there, So maybe it's something about always having the expectation to just keep growing, that being the norm for you. That no place is really like a permanent home. You can make your home in any space, but that, there's always the possibility of outgrowing your present potential, needing more, like turtles, like need more space. The bigger tank you put them in, the bigger they grow. Something like that here. That you're never short for ideas, you're never short for inspiration or being an inspiration or making an impact. And so you may often outgrow spaces. Maybe that is, the transition of self-awareness that you get to accept, or the evolution of identity that you get to accept for yourself. Whereas before, like I said, you had a very specific place, a very specific role. You fit within a space or a group, or, aligned with a certain frequency. And not only was that comfortable for you, it was also beneficial for those that were in that shared that space and or time. But there's some evolution here that's happening that could be a shock to the senses. And I feel like it matters to say that it's what can be expected to be the continuum. That if there is more to grow beyond the Empress, besides the Emperor, of course, that you should have the expectation to continue to do so. Never get too comfortable in one frequency anymore, because for whatever reason, your destiny is aligned with continuous evolution. Like, that's your calling. And that could be hard for a human to accept, because we always want a soft place to land. We always want to feel safe and secure in our little nook. Most of us do. Even when we have, different psychological or emotional impositions that would provoke us to resist that, to be afraid to get comfortable, or afraid to commit, afraid to settle. I feel like it's just natural within our human beingness to want to be in a place where you can let your hair down. But it may be for you that you create those spaces, even in the unknown, even in the obscure, and where ultimately home really just begins to be, or it is always, wherever you decide to let your hair down. But the consistency of that place itself is not so but that there isn't as much of a dependency on the place itself as the experience of comfort, but that it's more of an internal cultivation. Interesting. Place or people, for that matter. Let me just get one more. Yeah, it's like it's like it feels like a contract employee to some degree, or like a contract, I don't know what to call it. Like you have a job to do in a place, and once it's complete, it's time to move on. And that may be your life. Celestial contracts. Yeah, and it may be difficult to leave things behind, and this may even be the energy of those that feel a disconnect from you at those moments when there is a decision to move on or move away or just whatever, whatever the next has to be. It's never easy to feel like you're causing any unrest in those, especially that you may care about. But I don't know, it's something about that. It's strange, like that's just coming to me now. But you may be like on a continuous celestial assignment in the sense where there's always, like a traveling nurse or a traveling healer or something like that, where it's like you're only here for a limited time in certain spaces, and it's like you do what you can for whomever you can, however you can, and you gotta move around. And there's a certain balance of detachment that comes along with a destiny designed that way, where you have to like absolve yourself of the guilt that could be incurred on account of what people may feel. Like imagine with the prodigal son and his brother, feeling a bitterness about him leaving. There's a certain detachment you have to have in order to stay in alignment with an assignment such as that. But also knowing that your presence was purposeful and always is purposeful, that while you're there, while you're in connection or in communion or community in a certain way, that you have the highest intention to be a supreme inspiration, like the saying, like leaving places better than when you came type of energy. And that in itself could be the absolution, to know, there may be some hurt feelings or some unfavorable objections to me being disconnected or leaving a space, but I know that I had the highest intention and made the best effort to be an impact and an impression while I was here. And that may not be a connection that is drawn right away, but as long as that is the truth of your impression, then that's the matter of the fact. Because just as soon as you have made an impact in one space and it's time for you to move on, you get to take a fresh energy to that new space as well, to be just as much of an impact there as you were before. I don't even know why I'm saying all that, but maybe it matters to you. So don't allow yourself to get caught up in complacency or comfort or feeling of obligation, whether it's a matter of moving from one place to another, singularly, or it being a continuous thing. Whatever it is, you kind of got to be flexible with your divine alignment, particularly at this time, because there's so much ground to cover in this realm that you'd have to consider, you know, that your energy may be in high demand, at least until there are enough impressions made where everybody's operating in that sensation. I don't know, that's weird. Yeah, hangman, and what, ooh. To be stuck is sabotage, I guess. Yeah. And it's like it's self-sabotage to confine yourself to certain spaces, especially when it's been made clear that it's time to go or move on in some way. But it also is sabotaging for the people that you may share that space with. They don't get the best of you, and also there's a deprivation again of where you are pointed to next that, you know, is at stake as well, on account of being stuck or feeling like, you know, you can't move forward because you're needed in the place, or even feeling like you know, you don't feel like you're enlightened to move. Or this could even be the martyrism that I was talking about with the hangman and the 10 of swords. This is that. Because this is a voluntary stillness here with the hangman. At any given time, he can come down off of that tree, that pole, that cross, whatever it is that he's on. He can make the decision to come down and decide, I have enough information, I know how I need to move forward. But this is the energy of someone that still feels like they're waiting on something, or that they can't move forward. And again, as I said before, to do so in any attempt to be so-called noble is only self-sabotaging. Point blank period. I guess that's just what it comes down to. I'll say it's mostly self-sabotaging, because yes, the reality is that there are other spaces and places and appointments that are dependent upon your presence. You may be in that high of a demand that to miss an appointment could be a missed opportunity for someone else's aspirations of evolution. And it's not that the weight of the world should be on your back, but it's just that when you're in divine alignment with your destiny and with your calling, and prioritizing what is fulfilling for you, you automatically are meeting those milestones that ultimately become a benefit for others along the way. When you hold yourself back from doing that against your own will, against your own benefit, yes, in fact, you may deprive others too. So still, what you do for you ends up being a benefit and a blessing to others. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there. Yeah, I'll leave it there. It's kind of weird for me, I don't know. But hopefully something resonates with you. Thank you for listening and watching. Until next time, as always, I'll leave you with peace.